freedom. Freedom. What does it mean? What does it entail? When we fought in the revolution against the British, we say we were fighting for freedom. But what people don't understand is that when the communists were fighting in Russia to throw off the Tsar, they said they were fighting for freedom. Really? Yes. When the Chinese communists were fighting against the other people to take over the country, they said they were fighting for freedom. Another example of those that say they were fighting for freedom were the Nazis. I mean, when the Nazis were fighting and killing people by the thousands, hundreds of thousands, they were fighting for freedom. Every country in the world that has citizen armies that fights say they are fighting for freedom. Freedom in and of itself as a word for motivation is so unclear. And when you say the word freedom, believe me, every single person that hears that word is hearing something different. Totally different. Nobody sees freedom as the exact same thing. So before we can go around crying freedom, first, we got to get an understanding of what freedom really is. I'll give just one example of how people see freedoms differently. And that's really one of the biggest chasms between the right and the left, the real left, not this fake left that we got in America, is that the left feel like the only way to have real freedom is that nobody can walk all over anybody else's freedom. That's a crime. But the right feels that their freedom is to have the right to walk all over everybody else's freedoms by like prejudice, by hating other religions, by enslaving people. They feel like that's their right to destroy other people's rights, when the left feels like nobody should be able to walk over anybody else's rights. That's the biggest difference between the way the left and the right view freedom. And that's why the left says nobody is free until everybody is free. Because as long as we go with the right's version of what freedom really is, there's going to always be people who do not have real freedom, because everybody is going to be walking all over their freedoms. Just like the blacks, just like the way corporations enslave people overseas. I mean, like the people that build clothes and make clothes for Walmarts, they only get paid like 33 cents an hour, and they work like 70 hours a week and still don't even have enough money to feed their family. That's worse than slavery. That is destroying these people's rights and freedoms. And that the right feels like they have the right to do that. They deserve the freedom to be able to walk all over and destroy other people for their own personal benefit. Okay. So what is freedom? Freedom is the ability to do anything you want at any time, in any way, and with no barriers whatsoever. And true freedom is chaos, because in true freedom, you're allowed to steal, you're allowed to murder, you're allowed to rip people off, and you're allowed to beat people up. You're allowed to do whatever you want. That's freedom. That's what freedom is. Even freedom as a way of life has to have limits. I mean, you give up part of your freedom for security. That's what's missing in freedom. Total freedom. Security. And what we do with laws is try to, well, in a good society, I mean, some laws can be actually criminal in and of themselves, like the bribery of our politicians. That's just crime. That's not good basic laws. That is just criminal activity all the way to the top. But in a good society, in a good, well organized, well maintained society, laws are meant to stop others from walking all over your freedoms. You can't kill somebody else and somebody else can't kill you, because that's taking away their freedom. So there has to be limits. We can't steal from each other, because that's taken away from somebody else's freedom. Their security. Security is a big part of freedom that's not really talked about, mentioned. So it's freedom comes at a price, in a sense that you have to be willing to give up certain things to secure that freedom. Can't steal, can't kill, can't rape, can't you name it. You can't be walking all over everybody else's freedoms.